I took a flight in the plane yesterday. I didn't use the GoPro to film the flight because this video is not about the flight. Sometimes they say it's about the journey, not the destination. Well, this is about the destination. But first, let me speak to those pilots out there who have the Garmin G3X. I fill the tank of my plane with 15 gallons of fuel, according to the float gauge. During my run-up, the checklist item was to check the fuel level. Wait a minute. This says I have 20 gallons. That's odd. I know I only have 15 gallons. So let's dig deeper. This says I have 14.6 gallons remaining. I know the G3X is wired to know that I have a 20-gallon capacity, but wouldn't you think if I only had 14.6 gallons remaining that it would show 14 rather than 20 gallons on the primary screen? I suppose it's keying off of the fuel used parameter, but whatever the case, it's a confusing combination of values. At no point should it be saying I have 20 gallons on board. Well, back to the flight. The green line breadcrumbs shows the final few miles of my flight to, ta-da, the Tennessee Museum of Aviation in Gatlinburg. Parked on the ramp right in front of the museum. Got in for $10 as a veteran. I'm going to show some of what I saw inside, but not everything. The museum is divided into two areas. As you enter, there's a room with aviation paraphernalia on display. And then in a separate room is the hangar area with the aircraft displays. Here, I pan the camera around to show just a part of the first room that you enter. The museum principally has exhibits from the World War II and the Korean War eras. They do have quite a few displays of engines, both radials and jets. Who can forget the days of large sectional charts, plotters, and E6B computers? Thank God for ForeFlight. Here is the Norden bombsight. I remember reading that it was one of the most closely guarded secrets of World War II, but in reality, it was no more accurate than sticking your finger in the wind. Truth is, if you're doing carpet bombing, you probably don't need a bombsight anyway. This is the Pratt & Whitney Double Wasp R2800 engine. With 18 cylinders, it had a 2,800 cubic inch displacement, producing 2,400 horsepower. This engine was used on the F-4U Corsair, the F-6F Hellcat, and the P-47 Thunderbolt aircraft, among others. Look at this monster. It is a Pratt & Whitney Wasp Major. With 28 cylinders, it produced 3,500 horsepower at takeoff. It was used in the B-36, the C-124, and C-119 aircraft. Walking into the hangar gallery, you come across a replica of the original Wright Flyer. Every museum needs one of these, if for no other reason than to show how rapidly the art of aircraft design increased between 1903 and the 1940s. I studied for a long time the complexity of the gear mechanism on this Red Bull Albatross. For me, it's fun to imagine the mechanics of this and how each piece moves during retraction. Now, how we got all of these, I'm not sure, but I've seen quite a few MiGs in American museums. This is a MiG-17F, one of a few of the other Russian-built warplanes in the museum. So I'm going to conclude showing the airplane gallery with this suspended P-51D. If your interests run to engines, though, they have quite the collection. This power plant is from a MiG-21, as I recall. This cutaway of a jet was interesting to me because it looks like it started out as an axial flow turbojet, but then it turned into a centrifugal design just before the burners. For more information on this attraction, you can go to their website, the Tennessee Museum of Flight. You can see additional aircraft they have that I haven't shown. They told me that many of the planes are airworthy today. This one, outside on the ramp, is a little shy of being airworthy, but I suspect they have plans to restore it. For me, the purpose of the trip was just to actually make it there and make it back home. I experienced for the first time the haze created by the Canadian wildfires. Knoxville Approach was telling pilots that no parallel runways were in use, and I suspect the reason is because the visibility in the haze was so poor. The airport ATIS was reporting visibility in excess of 10 miles, but I tell you, I was 1,200 feet AGL passing by, and in the haze I experienced 5 miles or less for most of the return flight home. In fact, I altered my course back home to avoid overflying the mountains around Knoxville. That added miles and time to the return flight, but I opted for the route that was safer and diminished visibility. I hope you enjoyed this little summary of the flight today. If you haven't seen the video of an earlier attempt at this, just click on the image at lower left. If you've not yet subscribed to this channel, please consider doing that so that you don't miss out on whatever comes next. And we'll see you then.